and I'm breathing air that is, beyond the occasional fart from a horse, pretty damn clean. And it makes me think about some of the arguments I hear from people that China's just this nasty wasteland of trash and industry. And in some places, that is true. As a matter of fact, I have been to those places. I live near one of those places. And 10 years ago, I lived in one of those places. Ningbo, the city that I live in China, has really evolved over the last decade from an industrial powerhouse just churning out pollution. Hello. From an industrial powerhouse churning out pollution to a much more civilized, you'd say, put together society with green landscapes and even green rooftops. They've got a bunch of buildings that they're incorporating solar power and green rooftops in to try to control temperature and try to provide a few more oxygenated environments. It's actually come a long way. I'm very impressed with it. And when I hear people talking like how China is just dirty, it's a double-edged thing, you know? Because yes, in some cases it is. But in a lot of cases, more cases I would say it's not. And it's improving by leaps and bounds. The other caveat to that, I'd say, is that most of those factories are putting out products that have been bought with no complaints from the West. So, China has taken over the role of manufacturing from the United States in many cases, maybe to the detriment of the employees, but to the benefit of the business owners. The fact is that instead of making a mess of things in the States, they moved to China and didn't have any problem making a mess of things in China for many, many decades. But things are starting to change. Things are starting to get more expensive to manufacture in China, and those cheap manufacturing, highly polluted projects are moving elsewhere, which I disagree with as well. I mean, obviously we should try to do our best. Hello. We should try to do our best as a global community to cut down on pollution, and I would like to see us all try to move towards that direction. But I'm just saying that, America saying we have the cleanest skies is very true in many ways, but it doesn't mean that China doesn't have clean skies. It doesn't mean that China doesn't have fresh air. And it doesn't mean, oh, there's a guy picking some weeds. It doesn't mean that China doesn't have environments that could compete with the freshness and cleanliness of the environments in America or anywhere in the West. As a matter of fact, I am headed to a few different ancient cities in China. From this one, I'm headed to Chengdu. I'd already been in Chaozhou. Chaozhou is a coastal city. Chaozhou had beautiful air, beautiful skies, beautiful communities. The other thing is that because most of the people that visit China visit the coast, they have this perception that China is only what they see on the coast, only what they see in these dense cities. And there's a couple of things that aren't fair there. First off, it's unfair to regard an entire country by a populated city. And it's also unfair to regard an entire country by a city that is so populated, its population is exceeding most of the countries that those people are coming from. The entire country. There's more people in Beijing in many cases, or Shanghai, or Shenzhen. Shenzhen actually is quite clean. I love Shenzhen. But the other thing I want to mention is that I actually cycle around the world. I have cycled around all of Southeast Asia. Korea, Japan, back down to Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Malaysia. And one thing I noticed is that when you got around the major population centers, the big cities, they all kind of had the similar structure, right? You had the major city center, which in many cases was clean. The center of Tokyo is very beautiful and very clean. But as you started to work your way out, you'd get to the outskirts of the city, you would find that those cities had highly polluted industrial centers that would supply all of the beautiful, nice things that you had in Tokyo or Osaka. Osaka was one I will never forget. Osaka's industrial area is where you enter when you take the ferry into Japan from Korea. And that's what I did. I took a ferry from Busan into Korea with my three-wheeled recumbent trike. And when I arrived in Osaka, I arrived at the ferry terminal. And that ferry terminal was gross. I mean, we were a stone's throw away from downtown Osaka, and this place was dirty. Factories churning out smoke, all sorts of industrial centers, everything churning out, burning and churning in order to supply products to Osaka. I mean, I don't want to say it was like disgusting, but it was certainly a highly industrialized area. I was very surprised. You never see that sort of area when you look at Japan as a whole. I grew up in Detroit in the United States, and those places are fairly, dirty and industrialized. And when you're an old American city and your backbone is manufacturing, you're gonna get a little grease under your fingernails. You're gonna get a little dirt on your face from a citywide standpoint. And so, I just wanted to make this video to give you some objective, some nuance to the argument that China is just dirty. China is actually very nice. China is clean. It's got some beautiful areas. It's got some beautiful people, and it's got a lot of nature. Even right outside here, we went to a nature reserve, and there was all sorts of birds. Ni hao. Anyways, I just want to tell you that there are some beautiful, clean places in China, and there's some very dirty places in China. The dirty places are working on it. They've done pretty good in the last decade, and I think that they're going to do it even more to improve the lifestyle here. But to label China as just a dirty, disgusting place would be doing China a disservice. Anyways.